Talks are back on, but a teacher's strike has not been averted.
I've played my last probably high school game of my career yesterday.
Fall sports seasons are canceled, along with some expensive field trips.
If we don't get majority of the money back, it's just unfair and it's cruel for the families.
Plus, Forever Canadian petition organizers say they're 2/3 of the way to their goal.
Well, the job is not done. We have to go hard. We have to raise more than 300,000 signatures.
The final push to prove most Albertans don't want to separate. And the electrician leaving sparks on the bobsleigh track.
There's no feeling like it. I mean, you're going 150 kilometers an hour down an ice chute.
Late to the sport, now he's pushing for the Olympics.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Tara Nelson.
Hello and thank you for joining us. The province and the teachers union have resumed talks, but as of tonight, a strike will happen on Monday. The ATA says the strike has not been averted and its talks with the province are exploratory conversations only at this point. Alberta's finance minister says the province's negotiating committee has sent a letter to the ATA asking them to come up with creative solutions. Nate Horner says the onus is on the union to determine what supports teachers are actually looking for. In response, the ATA says it has already put forward solutions that teachers want. Mark Villani joins us. And Mark, this strike will impact 700,000 students and their families across this province.
Yes, that's right, Tara, and we're already feeling those effects. Parents and students alike looking at trying to figure out everything around this strike. When it comes to childcare, lots of parents worried about that. Many students wondering how they'll keep their grades up through all of this with diplomas coming up, as well as entire sports seasons that are canceled, even school trips that are now being called off. Now, the Calgary Board of Education has told us that 7 schools had trips planned from October 2nd to the 10th, impacting about 175 students. Several parents tell CTV News they're out thousands of dollars for one specific trip to Quebec City with little information on whether they'll get refunded, as the CBE says it's working on submitting insurance claims. Meanwhile, students say they're also worried about their grades slipping, especially those with those diploma exams, international baccalaureate exams. Finally, uncertainty coming with school sports. The Calgary Senior High School Athletic Association saying that all extracurricular sports will be canceled at least through the month of October.
So even if this strike is short-lived and we are back, we will still have to fight for our season, which is honestly, it's disappointing for me to see because I've put in years, my coaches have put in years, invested in me, and to see that kind of like come to a complete halt and we have very little of what we can do. What it really comes down to is we have to support our teachers because they are the backbone of our sports and our athletics.
Now, despite some conversations continuing today, we do know that a strike will go in place coming at 12:01 a.m. on Monday. Schools will be closed. The Teachers Association saying that it will also be holding several rallies across the province. They'll be taking place in Edmonton, Calgary, as well as Medicine Hat. It leaves many teachers and parents, though, Tara, in the middle, just wondering how long this could last.
Okay, Mark Villani reporting. Mark, thank you. Dozens of students staged a walkout at George P. Vanier Junior High School this morning in support of trans rights. They opposed the province's ban on trans students taking part in girls' sports. The province enacted the Fairness and Safety in Sport Act on September 1st. It requires students to provide documentation verifying they were female at birth before they can play on girls' sports teams. Human rights groups have launched constitutional challenges of the act. A citizen-led petition to show support for a united province and country has collected more than 250,000 signatures. The Forever Canadian petition was launched this summer in response to another campaign seeking to separate Alberta from the rest of the country. As Tim Brooke explains, it has garnered a lot of attention, but we don't yet know the impact it could have.
In Edmonton Friday, a group petitioning to keep Alberta in Canada had some good news for its members.
So as of today, approximately 230,000 signatures.
The Forever Canadian petition has now collected more than 2/3 of its goal. It asks if the signee agrees Alberta should remain in Canada. If it reaches 300,000 by the end of the month, that question could enter the legislature and maybe even make it onto a province-wide referendum.
Canadians want to work together. We will always have differences. We always have had differences, but we can resolve those differences as Canadians, and this is one of the ways of doing it.
Signatures have been collected in 16 cities and towns so far.
Calgary, we've got about, I think the last count, we were just over 80,000.
For the final stretch, volunteers will forget individual homes and instead swing for the fences.
If everybody goes out and puts the pedal to the metal and gets another 10 signatures a week for the next 3 weeks, we've got another 250,000 signatures.
At the Genesis Centre, 4 of the province's 5,000 volunteers put in work Friday.
At the end of the day, it's what all the cool kids are doing right now.
Of course, there's a flip side to all of this, and they're not completely opposed to everything the Forever Canadian crew is doing.
There are enough Albertans who want this put to a clear, concise, and singular question, and that is the responsibility of a government.
The opposing petition, launched by the Alberta Prosperity Project, is still waiting for a judge to decide whether its existence violates the Constitution. While that happens, separatists say they're not overly worried about the 230,000 signatures elsewhere.
Well, that's almost as many union members as there are in the province. Hockey and nostalgia are not enough to keep this broken confederation together.
Forever Canadians' deadline is October 28th. Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
The Forever Canadian bus is setting off to more rural areas of Alberta next week. Organizers say they want to give every citizen a chance to have their say. One person has died in a mobile home fire in the southeast community of Riverbend. The fire started around 4:30 this morning in the 2700 block of 86th Avenue. Firefighters arrived to find the mobile home fully engulfed. They immediately started working to bring the flames outside the home under control before they moved inside and discovered one deceased person.
So when the crew saw that fire, they deployed a hose line, started hitting it from the exterior, and then worked their way interior. The fire was a little bit bigger than they expected, so then we had a second truck connect to a fire hydrant to make sure we had a water supply. In the course of knocking down that fire and doing their search, they did locate one person inside.
Arson investigators from both Calgary Police and Calgary Fire Department are working to determine the cause of the blaze. However, police have confirmed that currently there is no evidence to connect this fire with the fire at the Ogden Legion building, which was just a kilometer away. Police say they're looking into a shooting in the far northeast. The shooting was targeted and aimed at a vehicle in the community of Skyview Ranch around 2 o'clock this morning. Nobody was hurt and no suspects have been located. Police are continuing to investigate.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
Taylor Swift's latest era, the life of a showgirl, is here. Swifties are rejoicing at the mega pop star's 12th studio album, which is already breaking records.
Thank you for the lovely bouquet. I'm married to the hustle, and now I know the life of a showgirl.
That's the title track off of Swift's new album. Not even 11 hours into its release, it set a Spotify record for the most streams in a day. While Swifties dive in and dissect all dozen songs, many are headed to theaters for the official cinematic release party, which shares how the album was made. Also in Calgary, several album release parties are being thrown tonight, including at Cowboys, Ranchman's, and Dickens Pub. Well, it is a beautiful evening. Danielle's outside tonight. It's going to start feeling like fall very soon, though.
Yes, so if you're going to any of those Taylor Swift parties, enjoy it because it's quiet for tonight for the most part. The winds are starting to pick up a little bit, and if you look towards the northwest, you can see some clouds starting to move their way in. That's certainly a sign of things to come because that's a cold front that's going to be swiping through. Oh, look at that, and we just dropped a degree. We will drop many degrees as we go through these next couple of days, so the weekend will be a chilly one. Now, just to look at tomorrow in general, you can expect on and off showers. We could, in fact, pick up about 10 millimeters of rain in total throughout the day tomorrow in localized areas of the city. The winds will pick up out of the north tomorrow, so it'll be a chilly wind gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour. We're only looking at a high of 11, and by tomorrow night, we could have some wet snow mixed in with this as well. We'll talk more about that just ahead, Tara.
Thank you, Danielle. Still to come, Hamas partially accepts Donald Trump's peace deal. It has agreed to release all Israeli hostages, but says other demands require consultation with Palestinians. And RPM is heading to Washington. Mark Carney says there could be some movement on tariffs. We're back in about 1 minute. Breaking news this evening out of the Middle East. According to Reuters, Hamas has conditionally accepted U.S. President Donald Trump's proposal to end the war in Gaza, previously agreed to by Israel. But the Palestinian militant group didn't directly address the terms requiring it to disarm, leaving the next steps up in the air as Israeli forces move into Gaza City. Here's Judy Trin.
Reuters is reporting that Hamas is accepting the peace deal put forward by U.S. President Donald Trump. This after he issued an ultimatum earlier today. On social media, Donald Trump wrote that an agreement must be reached by Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Washington time. This is the last chance agreement, Trump wrote, and all hell like no one has seen before will break out against Hamas. This peace proposal was first unveiled on Monday by Trump after he met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The 20-point peace plan calls for Hamas to release all 48 hostages, 20 of whom are believed to still be alive. Hamas members must agree to decommission their weapons and commit to peaceful coexistence. In exchange, Israel would also release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and gradually withdraw from Gaza, while a stabilization force led by Arab nations would eventually take over security in the territory. Now, this is happening after several countries, traditional allies of the U.S. and Israel, such as France, Britain, Australia, and Canada, recently recognized the state of Palestine last week at the United Nations General Assembly. Now, the war in Gaza is nearing 2 years. It would have reached its 2-year anniversary on October 7th. Palestinian officials say that more than 60,000 people have died and nearly 2 million people are at risk of starvation. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
A massive fire erupted at a Chevron refinery outside of Los Angeles.
There are several massive flames coming from the refinery. That right there appears to be the epicenter of this explosion that occurred.
Crews worked overnight to contain the fire that turned the dark sky orange. People who live in the area were urged to stay indoors. The company says there were no injuries and all personnel are accounted for. There's been no word yet on what caused that explosion. The Prime Minister is gearing up for another trip to Washington. Mark Carney is preparing to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump next week. With CTV News learning, some movement is expected on steel and aluminum tariffs. Here's Abigail Beeman.
Why don't you just join our country? You become 51, become the 51st state.
It will be Mark Carney's second White House visit since becoming Prime Minister in a deja vu era of 51st state remarks.
As long as this continued reference to the 51st state remains foremost in the president's mind, this is not an atmosphere that is going to make these type of negotiations easy, and it's something that absolutely enrages Canadians.
The Prime Minister has been tight-lipped lately about any progress with the president, his office not always saying when they've spoken.
Have you talked to Donald Trump recently? Yes. What did he say?
But next week's visit will aim to keep trying to get a deal on punishing American tariffs, as both countries also launch consultations for the upcoming review of CUSMA. One source tells CTV News Canada is expecting progress on steel and aluminum tariffs, but not autos. In a rare public update, the top minister on the Canada-U.S. file told a Senate committee this week he's hopeful there can be a separate deal ahead of CUSMA.
I'm hoping we can get progress before the review process formally engages, but time will tell us if my optimism is misplaced.
The embassy is abuzz, Canadian embassy is abuzz with visits and people reaching out and meetings.
But maybe I think Mark Carney knows that sometimes the principal has to get into the room to close the deal. And I'm hoping that Mark Carney's trip to Washington to meet with President Trump will be about a deal and not just more conversation.
In addition to LeBlanc, the foreign affairs and industry ministers will be joining the Prime Minister on his trip to D.C. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
The U.S. government shutdown is set to last into next week after the latest attempt to get a funding bill passed fell through this afternoon. Republicans and Democrats are trading blame over who's responsible as the Trump administration threatens widespread layoffs.
It's all about President Trump and the Democrats needing to pick a fight to satisfy their far-left political base, far-left activist organizations who are the tail wagging the dog right now.
Republicans had called for a so-called clean resolution that would keep the U.S. government funded while broader budget talks continued. But Democrats say they wouldn't support any bill that didn't preserve a number of health care tax credits that are set to expire. They say millions of Americans will be affected, and Republicans have refused to negotiate.
It's not complicated. Americans want it. Republican voters want it. Democrats remain ready and willing to work with the other side. We're ready to work on a path forward to lower health care costs for the American people and fund the federal government.
Some Republicans say they're open to talks about the tax credits, but only after the government shutdown is over. U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, said he was meeting with his budget director about potential cuts that could be carried out during the shutdown while pausing funding for transit projects in Democratic-leaning areas like New York and Chicago.
This is CTV News, Calgary.
All right. There were a lot of people still with flowers out, planters on their step and things. We might have to cover those this weekend.
That's a good point. Yes, cover them. Take them in if you can, because we will be dipping below the freezing mark tomorrow night. That's why we may even see some of the S word. A little bit of wet snow mixed in with the rain, even in the city. Okay, far cry from today. Today we got up to 18 degrees in the city. It's 17 right now. We got into the 20s in Brooks and Drumheller and Medicine Hat. Now in those higher teens at this point as things start to slowly cool for the evening. The winds are starting to pick up. Now the key thing about the winds today is they were out of the west. That's a warmer wind. Just over 40 kilometers per hour in Calgary, 30 in Lethbridge, mid-50s for Pincher Creek. But these will pick up again tomorrow, and they will be out of the north. And that north wind is a chillier wind, of course. All signs of all these changes to come. So chillier wind, more cloud cover, rain possible, and then in some communities, wet snow mixed in with that. I'm going to show you that on the hour by hour in just a second. But right now you can say, well, we're kind of on a break, but this is the cold front that's on its way in, and we already have the clouds starting to make their way into the northwest end of the city, and then this is going to spark up that instability as well. So showers possible tomorrow, on and off rain. We may see some sunny breaks in the city tomorrow, but this is what we're looking at. On and off rain. It could result in about 10 millimeters of rain in Calgary and for some communities down Highway 2 as well, even Lethbridge. But check this out. You can see the snow start to make its way down. So by tomorrow night, as we start to get to that freezing mark, this will switch into a rain-snow mix. That could even creep into the city as well, as you can see by this forecast model right here. And then also into the Lethbridge area. And of course, areas off to the west and higher elevations will definitely see a little more consistent wet snow with this. So it's a game changer for sure. And even though that clears out for Sunday, and while we're looking at sunshine for Sunday, we are looking at that cool air sticking around. So it will be a cooler day with a daytime high in the single digits. Here's your Action Furnace 5-day forecast. Just 11 degrees is our high for tomorrow. A good amount of cloud cover, a cool wind gusting at 40 kilometers per hour to the north, and on and off rain is certainly likely. Then as we dip closer to that freezing mark in the night hours, we will likely get a rain and wet snow mix in the city, and then 8 degrees is our high for Sunday. Yes, it will be brighter, but certainly cool. All right, midnight tonight is the bonus prize deadline in the Hospital Home Lottery. You could win the Mercedes and Malta bonus prize or take $150,000 cash. Get your tickets before midnight tonight at CalgaryHospitalHomeLottery.com.
A big boost for Mount Royal University's aviation program as it unveiled a new hangar today. The Springbank Aviation campus, located at the Springbank Airport, includes simulators, multiple hangars, and room for 3 planes. The university previously had an aging facility about half the size across the street. The expansion comes as the industry sees a shortage both in the air and behind the scenes.
Canada is not set to meet the demand for professionals. And so for us, with this new facility in Springbank, it connects to this Western Alberta kind of hub to meet that demand.
Mount Royal is hoping to double its pilot training intake to 80 students by next year. It also comes as the university launches a new bachelor program for aviation management. Canadian doctors say there is nothing wrong with Tylenol. Confusion being sown for pregnant women amidst misinformation from the White House. And Canada's basketball team visits one of Alberta's mountain parks. Banff and Lake Louise never fail to deliver the wow factor. Some Calgary doctors say they're fielding concerns from pregnant patients after the Trump administration linked Tylenol use to autism last month. Doctors say that is harmful disinformation, and members of Calgary's autism community say it also distracts from the tangible need for supports. Stephanie Thomas reports.
Alexandra Greenop is 37 weeks pregnant with her second child. She says her prenatal care team has advised Tylenol is safe for her to take.
I know a lot of people will just be online looking for similar information, and it's really hard to figure out what's useful, what's not, what can I trust, what can I not trust.
In September, U.S. President Donald Trump announced pregnant women should fight like hell not to take the pain and fever medication because it causes children to develop autism. Greenup says what people do or don't do in pregnancy is already under immense scrutiny.
Pretty much anything you eat, drink, exercise, anything you do during pregnancy, there's some level of you should do this or you shouldn't do that. So it definitely, I think, can cause a lot of stress for people, which is also harmful for pregnancy.
Numerous health organizations, including Health Canada and the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada, refute Trump's claim. Acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, is the recommended over-the-counter medicine to take in pregnancy at the recommended dose.
We are already fighting many myths out there.
Staff at the Foothills Maternity Group have posted the SOGC's statement about acetaminophen throughout the clinic. Doctors say they are spending more time with patients about treating symptoms of fever, injury, and headache, and say there is no scientific evidence for a causal link between Tylenol and autism.
It's just so wrong. It doesn't respect women as people, doesn't respect that they are income earners and they need to perform in their jobs. They need to take care of their own children. They need to sleep, they need to be able to function.
Calgary's autism community is concerned neurodivergence is positioned as a negative, while support for people on the spectrum is urgently needed.
To be strong, to be safe, to have income security, to have the services and supports they need to thrive and contribute.
Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
The province sent CTV News a statement saying the approval and regulation of drugs falls under federal jurisdiction. Yet on its webpage about acetaminophen use during pregnancy, the province does say in general, doctors say it's usually safe to take. Some patients in Alberta may be offered a taxi to the emergency room instead of an ambulance as part of a new pilot project. The 6-month pilot project is only for people in Calgary and Edmonton. Acute Care Alberta says callers to 811 who are advised to see a doctor within 24 hours may be offered the service if they do not have any other way to get to their nearest hospital or urgent care center. The health agency says the service is meant to reduce strain on the health system. If successful, the pilot project will be expanded to other parts of Alberta. Researchers at McMaster University and MIT have made a major breakthrough when it comes to the treatment of Crohn's and inflammatory bowel disease. They discovered a brand new antibiotic that targets IBD and used a new type of artificial intelligence to predict exactly how the drug works. The new antibiotic specifically attacks a family of bacteria that includes E. coli. It will hopefully be ready for human trials in 3 years. Just ahead, this is a real puzzler. The award-winning chemistry professor whose true passion lies in crosswords, both doing them and creating them. A Canadian chemistry professor is being recognized by the New York Times, not for his research, rather his love of crosswords. Adam Sawatsky explains.
This is not a story about realizing a childhood dream, because back then, Mark McLaughlin was unaware of a crucial reality.
I'd never even heard of the New York Times when I was a kid.
Instead, Mark would regularly borrow his mom's magazines to complete the printed puzzles before learning how to effortlessly solve a Rubik's Cube.
Everybody would bring their cubes to me at school, and I would solve their cubes.
While he would grow up to become an award-winning chemistry professor, dean of science at UBC, and prolific Aloha shirt wearer,
And I feel like they brighten the day for everybody else in the room.
it wasn't until Mark was pursuing his postgraduate work at MIT in the late 90s that he discovered the pleasure of completing a crossword.
I just completely forget about work and that I have another life and immerse myself in the puzzle.
Until one day, Mark wondered, who actually makes the crosswords?
Found out that anyone can submit a puzzle to the New York Times.
So, Mark taught himself how to design crosswords by hand, which can take between 30 to 80 hours, and started submitting them.
And promptly got it rejected and tried over and over.
But Mark persevered until he finally got his first puzzle published in the Los Angeles Times.
It was amazing. Yeah, super cool to finally get one accepted.
Since then, Mark has upgraded to using a computer to make more than 75 puzzles.
And I like trying to come up with new, clever themes that other people haven't thought about before.
While having a complex puzzle published can earn more than $2,200, Mark says seeing his work printed in the prestigious New York Times Weekend Edition is priceless.
And Sunday New York Times has felt the best.
Bigger than anything else in your career?
I think so.
While the puzzle-loving boy he once was never knew to dream this big,
I never imagined I'd be doing this as a hobby.
the professor he now is hopes his puzzling pastime, like teaching in Aloha shirts or riding with dinosaurs, proves to be both educational and entertaining.
I hope that people enjoy it and learn something new.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Vancouver.
That is really cool.
Very
really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we told you earlier this week that the Toronto Raptors were in Calgary. They have a 4-day training camp at the UFC. You can't come to Calgary without visiting the Rockies.
Right.
I know we're going to Banff.
Banff. We're here to see nature.
Yep, the team enjoyed a trip to Banff and Lake Louise. It was definitely the first trip to the mountain park for many of these players. I'm also going to guess by the footage you're about to see, it was the first time in a canoe for a lot of them. They could barely fit those big long legs in those canoes. But it looks like they had a really good time.
Lots of smiling faces for sure.
Yes.
How can you not love the mountains, right?
One of the most beautiful places in the world. I think they thought it was fantastic. I'm so glad they could get out there. That's cool. Well, how would you react if you saw this the next time you were at the grocery store? Just watch closely because that's a bear. It surprised shoppers at a store in Arizona. It apparently just walked right in the front door, ran around inside for a few minutes, and then made a break for it. Shoppers say it didn't actually do much damage, though.
I was just wondering if it got what it wanted to pick up.
Yeah. Fish.
What are the store for,
It was in the fish aisle.
He got some
I'll take that salmon, please.
And some Halloween candy, it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, it's always nice to get lost in a good book, but sometimes what you read doesn't really make sense.
She smiled at him with her lower teeth.
How do you smile with your lower teeth?
She smiled.
We're all doing that right now.
Right. It's not very attractive. No. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look great. No. Well, Canada Post presents a new offer to postal workers. We have details of the proposed deal just ahead in our business report.
Oh, Skywatch weather camera. Depending on which way you look, you see different things. Looking towards the north and northwest, you see the clouds starting to creep in. If you look towards the south, you still see some bright blue sky. The clouds moving in, that's a sign of this change to come. This is a very different weekend, and I want to make sure you're prepared for it because there's a couple things you definitely need to know. 17 degrees is the current temperature. Today's high was 18. So far this month of fall has been, well, quite toasty. just like highs at 18 degrees and 20 degrees and well above normal. We've pushed all our really warm air off to the east, though, as you can see here. So 27 in Winnipeg for the high today, 23 in Thunder Bay, mid-20s for Toronto and through Ottawa, and lower 20s Montreal and Fredericton. We're doing okay temperature-wise, and this is all going to change. So we've had a nice wind out of the west today. Tomorrow will be out of the north. That'll be a cooler wind. This cold front is starting to already sweep through, so the clouds are already creeping into parts of Calgary. And then we have the potential between 8 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. of isolated showers in the city. And then this is going to usher in a much cooler air mass that you will certainly notice for the weekend. So let's start off with just Saturday. This is your 24-hour forecast brought to you by Action Furnace. Fixed right here, it's free. And you can see the shift in winds. We're switching to the northwest tonight and then out of the north for tomorrow, gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour, just a high of 11 tomorrow. And throughout the day, you have those on and off showers. For Kelowna, 16 and mainly cloudy. Golden may even see some thunderstorm activity. Rocky Mountain House as well. And then you're looking at a high of 9 for Olds tomorrow, 14 for Drumheller. Temperatures a little all over the place tomorrow. Lethbridge 11 and Medicine Hat 15. By the time we get into Sunday, we even have the potential of just a high around 9 degrees. Midnight tonight is the bonus prize deadline in the Hospital Home Lottery. You could win the Mercedes and Malta bonus prize or take $150,000 cash. Get your tickets before midnight tonight at CalgaryHospitalHomeLottery.com.
Let's return to our top story now. The province and teachers union are talking again, but formal negotiations have not resumed. That means as of tonight, a strike is still scheduled to happen on Monday. It will impact more than 700,000 students and their families across the province. Here's Mark Villani.
With the possibility of a teacher's strike as early as Monday, Alberta students are cleaning out their lockers.
I feel like this year has been better for me, and then this kind of just stops the process of my learning.
I will not be able to learn all the information for my IB exams in April, so I know me and a lot of my classmates were really stressed out about all of that.
The province is launching an online tool guide for students to keep up with their studies, but they won't get any direction from teachers. Meanwhile, the Calgary Senior High School Athletic Association is canceling all sports for the rest of the month.
So even if this strike is short-lived and we are back, we will still have to fight for our season. What it really comes down to is we have to support our teachers because they are the backbone of our sports and our athletics.
The U of C Dinos are aware of the strike. Head coach Ryan Sheehan says recruiting top high school talent is always top of mind for his program. He's encouraging athletes to stay optimistic.
I think over the next couple of weeks, if there is a hiatus in football, they should focus on their highlights, continue to train, stay active, keep moving.
Student trips at 7 Calgary Board of Education schools this week have also been canceled. 175 students are impacted, including those on a trip to Quebec City who may be out thousands of dollars.
If we don't get majority of the money back, it's just unfair and it's cruel for the families.
The board says it's working with impacted families on next steps for refunds. CBE is submitting an insurance claim and expects to be able to fund the majority of costs. Some parents are concerned, though, over a lack of options to care for their kids.
This strike is affecting everything on our daily life.
Delawar Hossein works full-time and doesn't know how he'll be able to organize childcare for his little girl.
That is my big worry, that it can take months. We want the government to please do something.
But some are hoping this strike is short-lived to get back to class and reunited with their teachers.
Those are my role models. Those are my coaches. Everything runs through them.
Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
The province is cracking down on what it calls bad actors in the trucking industry. The Alberta government has ordered the closure of 5 commercial driver training schools. It's also removed 13 commercial trucking companies from the road for safety-related issues. 7 of those were identified as chameleon carriers. Those are companies that try to avoid regulatory oversight by changing names, creating new entities, or relocating operations across jurisdictions. There has been some movement in the Canada Post strike. Here's BNN Bloomberg's Marla Fernandez.
Canada Post has presented a new offer to the union representing striking workers. It includes the same offer of a 13.6% increase over 4 years, but the Crown Corporation has pulled a signing bonus off the table, citing its worsening financial situation. Mail carriers have been on strike for a week. The union says it will review the offer. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 71.66. West Texas Intermediate crude is up to 60.53. Western Canadian Select to 49.02. And the TSX hit another record close again today, shooting up another 311 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced in a New York courtroom, and it means he will be spending more time behind bars. Rena Roy has the details.
A judge today sentencing Sean Diddy Combs to more than 4 years in prison after being found guilty of 2 counts of transportation for the purpose of prostitution. The defense and prosecution getting a chance to address the courtroom ahead of sentencing. Combs himself also pleading with the judge for mercy. He painted himself as a changed man who accepts responsibility for his actions, apologizing for the harm he caused. Several of his children also speaking, asking the judge to give him a second chance. Jesse Combs saying through tears, "Your Honor, this is still our dad." But the judge said today he doesn't believe Combs has taken full responsibility for the prostitution-related charges he was convicted of. Prosecutors saying this is not just about prostitution, but about violence, telling the judge Combs did horrible things to ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and a woman who testified under the pseudonym Jane. They say he's downplayed his violence and has only owned it when it benefits him, and that his behavior is something the public should be defended from. The judge also sentenced Combs to 5 years of supervised release and set a fine of $500,000, which is the maximum allowed under the law. Combs has already served 12 months in prison, which he will get credit for. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Still to come, it is the last game of the preseason, and the Flames have something to prove. They're hoping for a better result against the Jets after being beaten badly by the Canucks earlier this week. Glenn has a preview next.
On the ground, that's off the glove of the first baseman Lowe. 1 run is in. Here comes Chisholm. 2 runs are in.
Well, the Yankees eliminated Boston with a 4-0 win Thursday, so that means the Toronto Blue Jays will face the Yankees in their American League Division Series this weekend. The Jays and the Yankees will play Game 1 in Toronto tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. The Calgary Flames wrap up the preseason tonight at the Dome. Glenn is back with us, and it's only the preseason, but the Flames will certainly want a better effort than they had last game.
Tara, the Flames got smoked 8-1 by the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday night. Tonight, they're up against the veteran Winnipeg Jets roster. The Flames head into this game with a 3-4 record in the preseason. For the most part, they've had good efforts, but that certainly wasn't again the case against the Canucks on Wednesday night. Zane Parekh and Matvei Gridin back in the lineup for the final preseason game, hoping to make one last impression and a spot on the opening night roster. For the veteran players, it's a chance to ramp things up before the regular season opener in Edmonton on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's your last chance to get your game where you want it to be, and a couple new system tweaks that you want to get more familiar with and things like that. But yeah, just obviously put together a much better performance here and feel good going into the year.
I got a little bit more in me, but I think I'm getting there, and every game it's gonna be a new test for me, but just continue to get better every time, and at the end of the day, like I'm not gonna be perfect. I'm gonna have some tough stretches, but that's all a part of kind of learning and growing.
Like I said, this is a good opportunity for people to leave a lasting impression on a coaching staff and management group tonight.
Well, the Flames did lose one player off waivers today. The Colorado Avalanche claimed defenseman Ilya Solovyov, goaltender Ivan Prosvetov, and forward Rory Cairns cleared, so they're heading to the Wranglers. Flames Jets puck drop just a few minutes' time at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and the Calgary Hitmen made a bold trade today. They've acquired the rights to forward Theo Stocksalius from the Seattle Thunderbirds for a 4th-round pick in the 2027 WHL Prospects Camp, a conditional 6th-round pick in 2026, conditional 1st-round pick in 2026, and a conditional 5th-round pick in 2029. Stocksalius was the Flames' 2nd-round draft pick in 2025, currently playing in Sweden. Toronto Raptors wrap up their training camp in Calgary tonight. It's the first time the Raptors have ever held their training camp in Calgary. They did play a couple of preseason games in 1996 and 2016. The first 3 days of training camp was closed to the public, but tonight they've opened the doors and the Raptors are having a scrimmage at the Jack Simpson Gym at the University of Calgary. RJ Barrett is a Canadian, and he thinks it's important to represent the Raptors all over the country.
It's amazing. You know, this is my first time in Calgary, so I'm excited to be here. Actually, one of my friends, he said, actually play here. Noah Wharton, he used to play here, so it's cool. It's cool to be here, just to bring Raptors basketball to a different part of the country.
Tip-off for the scrimmage, just a few minutes' time. Raptors play their first preseason game on October 6th in Vancouver against the Denver Nuggets. Well, it costs a lot of money to become an Olympic athlete. One bobsleigh athlete in the city holds down a full-time job to help pay the bills. It's Wednesday morning, and Chris Ashley and his crew are on another call. Ashley's an electrician with Granite Electric. He got his ticket 17 years ago. Ashley says it's a challenging job, but he likes it.
I get to go all over, we're all over southern Alberta, from Lethbridge up to Edmonton. So I get to go to a new place every day, get to work with a bunch of good guys.
As much as he likes it, there was something missing in Ashley's life. He'd always been athletic and wanted to do something big in his life athletically. 4 years ago, he started his journey in bobsleigh.
And then a good buddy of mine came and said, hey, I'm going to join the Canadian bobsled team. Do you want to train with me? And I said, bobsled? Sure, let's give it a go. The training was awesome. It was like sprinting, lifting, all these cool things that I love to do. Ended up qualifying to test for Team Canada, and I made it.
Ashley knows he wouldn't be able to be both an electrician and compete in bobsleigh if he didn't work for a very understanding company and boss.
When I came to my boss and I said, hey man, I'm going to do this crazy bobsled thing, I'm going to need to take 6 months off, he was definitely like, what? But no, I was chatting with him, and I think everybody's had an Olympic dream when they were a kid, and him and I kind of touched on that, and he always wanted to be an Olympian in some fashion or whatever. So he said, Chris, go for it, man. We'll support you, and go make us proud.
And Chris Ashley. The dream of going to the Olympics is still there for Ashley, and he has his sights on the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy.
Like I said, a childhood dream. As soon as you put the maple leaf on your back and you're competing for Team Canada, there's no feeling like it. It's amazing. I'm super grateful for the opportunity.
Canada's bobsleigh team will have their selections camp next week in Whistler, so big time for all of those guys and gals.
That's huge. That's a great story. Thanks, Glenn.
Cool. That's awesome.
Well, cool weekend ahead.
Yep. Maybe, if you don't like wet snow, it might not be awesome for you, but it is October. So tomorrow, throughout the day, on and off rain. We may pick up to 10 millimeters. And then tomorrow night, as we dip below the freezing mark, we will likely get some wet snow mixed in with that. Tara's face, she's not that happy with this right now, I don't think.
She has said a few things.
I'm looking over, and there's a bit of displeasure. Okay, then Sunday, 8 degrees. So the cold weather will stick around, but at least it will be brighter by then. And if you like the 20s, don't worry. Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, we'll get close to that range once again. So we're not done with the warmth, but it's not going to be warm this weekend. Weather window brought to you by Lux Windows and Doors. Crafting quality windows and doors for your style, budget, and Alberta's climate. And Denise Jasmine wanted to send us a reminder of October 2nd near Olds in 2018.
I better not see that this weekend.
No.
No, it won't be that bad. Well, here anyway.
Thanks for your company tonight. Have a great evening.